Hello there, and welcome to the D-Junction. I'm Jats, and in this Passion for Cars episode, we are on our way to see Mark Dwyer. Now, Mark has an incredible collection of 1960s and 70s Mercedes Benz cars, but one stands out. It is an exemplary tribute car that he has created to fulfill a dream. The tribute car, of course, is to the one and only, the legend and the icon that is the Red Pig. Mark, welcome.
Hi, Jats. I have to say that I thought the entire process would take maybe 7 months. And here we are 2 years, 4 months later. The car's finally, 99% done.
Well, all I can say, Mark, having had a good look at this car, and I saw it originally in March of this year, the NEC, the restoration show,
That's
the NEC,
right.
didn't I? Where we
Partially done.
Partially done. And it was very much a rattle can affair. But since then, of course, Mark has taken this car to a completely different level. It's transformed from what I saw. And in today's episode, we're going to cover the journey that Mark has been through. And of course, he needs to have a partner that can go shoulder to shoulder with him. And Nikki has done that. And I think together what they've created is something truly remarkable and truly special. This is just an absolutely outstanding piece of art, again, if I can call it that, Mark, because I see this as pure genius.
It's, I would like to think, an accurate copy of the Red Pig or Die Rote Sau. AMG, I think they actually started the company in 1967. Aufrecht, Melcher, from the village of Großaspach.
Right.
AMG. Their first showing was at Francorchamps Spa in late June in 1971. And they rolled up into the pits with this 6.8 litre V8 four-door luxury saloon. And everybody was laughing at them, saying, you're going to come nowhere in that, mate. It's a tank, it's a barge. So they managed, over the course of the next 24 hours, to haul this 1.7-ton Leviathan around the track into second place overall, and they actually won their class. So they did rather well that day. The car became a bit of a unicorn car because it had this one great showing.
It's like a legend almost, isn't it?
And it didn't do off as well anywhere else again. It was kind of a one-trick pony, but they used it over 1971, 1972, and they entered 13 different races. So some they didn't actually make it to the start line, and some that didn't finish, but the showing wasn't very good. It was a little bit long in the tooth in the racing car world. A couple of years is a long time. So they felt that they wanted to move on, and they sold the car to Matra Aerospace, who subsequently extended it by putting another couple of foot in the middle of the car, cutting a hole in the floor at the back, and had a scientist sitting each side of this hole, and then proceeded to run up and down a runway and test aircraft landing equipment, slamming it down into the tarmac.
Goodness.
And
presumably that's because this car could generate so much power. Yeah.
But it was also stable. It was a big, burly thing. And if you're doing something like that, you need mass. Matra ran it for a while, tested it to destruction, and this is where it becomes a myth. Because where did it go to after that?
Nobody knows, do they?
Nobody knows. AMG made exhaustive research around 2006, I believe it was, and they couldn't find hide nor hair of it, and they had proper people looking for it. So they decided to build a replica. And of course, people like us who remembered it from back in the day and then never saw it again, wow, isn't this a thing? And I think there was a magazine article on it at that point in time, a European classic car magazine, and I saw the picture that they put on there, and it was only a part shot, and it was of that quarter of the car, just the front headlights and the two spotlights and a partial of the grille. But I remembered it straight away. It was such an iconic look.
Yeah.
So I read the article, the feature that they done on the car. As it turned out, they made one car because it was the anniversary, and why not? And we'll put it on display. This and another. The demand was so great that they actually made another car as well, one for static display and one that they actually loaned out. It was seeing those rushes, those images that inspired me because I got a background. Now it finally makes sense. We've done the Pagoda. We've done the 65 Coupe. I got these people in place. And the Mercedes Benz Club, I was just browsing it one day, looking through the cars for sales section,
Like you do.
like you do when you know you've got too many already, and you know it's just pie in the sky.
Yeah, of course.
And then somebody came up on the forum, and they said, "Have you seen this car? Have you seen this car?" And it was a black 4-door saloon. Will Holman, the editor of Practical Performance Car magazine, put a 5.6 V8 in it from a 1988 560 SEL. It took me about 20 seconds to join the dots and realise that it was never going to be this close again. It was from South Africa. He went over to buy a couple of Mercedes. He'd always had a soft spot for these kind of stacked headlight, much like myself. They got 2 containers and they got 3 cars, and they had room for one more. They didn't think that they were going to fill it. Before the boat sailed, they went to a supermarket to get sandwiches and stock up like lads do, a couple of cans of beer, this, that and the other. This was in the car park, in black, with a tan interior, looking a little bit worse for wear. He went back inside, and over the tannoy announced, would the owner of the 71 Mercedes please go to the car park? And a lady came out who'd owned it for 18 years, and she used it as a shopping trolley. That's all it was, with a little 2.8 straight 6 engine, happy as anything with it, and it was looking a little bit ropey around the edges, but it was reliable.
So it was a 280 SE?
It was a 280 SE. That's right. And she says, "No, I don't want to sell it." So he made her an offer she couldn't refuse in the best Bond villain way he could, and actually got it on that boat of that afternoon that it was sailing to get it back to here. And so he brought it back over here. He had this idea. I think he had the same idea because there is an image of when they were doing this car of the original Red Pig, one of the original shots in their like a 12-part issue that they did in the magazine. That's kind of where I'm going with it, but maybe not as far.
Right.
So it put this wonderful 5.6 V8 engine in it, about 300 horsepower, and then he fitted LPG to it.
Oh no!
It fitted LPG to it, so there was plumbing everywhere. There was an LPG tank in the back, a new filler cap that was cut through the rear of the car. So there was a lot of things to address.
So here you have it then. So all of a sudden you've come across a classic car. You've got this image in your mind already of something like the Red Pig. It's already got a V8 in there. What's not to like?
Everything else was wrong. It's actually the wrong model of car. It's a W108, this is. The original car, the 6.3 litre V8, was actually the M100 engine out of the 600 Pullman limousines. And AMG overboard that engine to 6.8 litres and got 420 horsepower out of it. The compromise for that, for all that raw power, was the fuel efficiency. And so they're getting between 5 to 8 to the gallon. I think if it wasn't for that fact that the fuel efficiency was as bad as it was, that they would have actually won the show. I live in the real world. I want a Red Pig. I want it to be roadworthy, but I also want it to be accurate. So I started looking at the compromises involved. The bodywork, okay, it's going to be hard work, and I don't know too much about it, so I'll have somebody tackle the rudimentary stuff,
Yeah.
flaring the archwork over the wheels. So I thought, right, I've got to line my ducks up here because I don't know anybody who could do that. So I thought the first thing I'm going to need is the wheels, because it only had actually a set that are now on the Pagoda, and that helped that along. But this one, to get the wheels right, to get the 5-spoke Penta alloy was actually quite difficult. To 15-inch diameter, but about 300 millimeters deep, 1 foot deep for the rear ones, weren't actually available anywhere. It's got 17-inch alloys, and I approached a chap in Germany called Roland Mueller, and I said, look, I'm after these Pentas, this, that, and the other. Anyway, about 3 seconds in, he said, you build Red Pig. And I said, yes, hands up, I confess.
How can you tell?
He says, I've got a firm in Taiwan. Oh, that's great. I said, but I need them quick. I've got to build the bodywork around them. He said, okay, it's not a problem. 1 month is about okay for a turnaround. I thought, well, there's enough other things to do on the car, so I'll sit on that. Anyway, as it turns out, Taiwan got them made in short order, as they should have done. But they were on that bloody boat that stuffed its nose into the side of the Suez Canal. So that was quite frustrating. And I thought, I hope this don't set the tone for the rest of the car and how it's going to go. So I got a bodywork guy lined up, a guy who'd sprayed the other 2 cars for me, took it over to see him in its raw state. He knows I can be quite exacting and demanding. And he said, I'll do it on one condition. And I said, okay, what's that going to be? He said, you come in and do the flatting off and the preparation of the bodywork, so you can't criticise me. He says, because I know how you'll work. And I said, well, I've not done that kind of thing. He said, don't worry, I'll walk you through it. Okay, I think I might like, I'm a hands-on guy. I might enjoy that. I might like doing that. But first of all, I need some steelwork doing for the arches. And I had half a clue of where this guy might be, and I had someone look at the steelwork. Anyway, it was, let's say it was a strained relationship of having the steelwork done. And it's not a process I would ever want to repeat.
Because I suppose nobody's got experience of working on this car doing this kind of thing, have they? This is something you're doing on the fly, I suppose.
There was only about 15 photos the race of the original item.
Yeah, there's not many. I was trying to do some research before today, and I could barely find anything.
No, so I got everyone that I could, and added, went down boots, got them printed off. So I went down and I want this doing, I want that doing, I want the doors to open through the flare, and it was that above anything. The rear doors opening through the flaring of the arches over the extended bodywork.
So it's all got to align, the doors included,
yes, that's right. So it was that was proving the most problematic. My paint guy was also saying that, you know, most guys of this period, they'd have just welded the door shut, blown over the arches and just left it at that. And he says, that's massively complicating a relatively simple bodywork job. I said, I want to do this once. And if I want to do it, I want to do it right.
Yeah. I take it it's all steel fabrication then on this, is it? Or is there some fiberglass or other materials?
I'm going to say that I wish it was more steel than fiberglass work. As it turned out, the fiberglass work that I put on there, I was walked through the process because I can do things with my hands. It weren't too fearful of anything that was looking at. And I know what a compound curve looks like. I know how to form one curve, how it runs into another.
But that's from woodwork.
Blends. And that's from woodwork, cabinet work. So it was having the eye. And I think the first arch and door took me 1 week, 2 days before I was happy with it. And it was so frustrating. And that was probably the lowest point of the job because he was heading into winter as well. And the guy who was doing the bodywork, he didn't have space in his workshop. Actually, under this carport, I ended up putting on some of the fiberglass work. I had to try and work dry days, no moisture in the air. This only it was quite specific on what
Yeah.
I had to do to make it
And I suppose
right.
that slows the whole process down then
It
anyway,
did
doesn't
slow
it?
it down.
Yeah.
But after getting my eye in on that one arch on the one side, the next one took about 3-4 days. And I understood the processes and how I had to build it up. So I did actually enjoy that. And then I moved on to the front arches,
Yeah.
and I suddenly got to the end of them and thought, oh, I,
I want another one.
I wish I only had 5 wheels. I'd like to do another one. I discovered on the photographs that it wasn't as simple as taking the bumper off the front of the car, putting some brackets on, because all of this work
Yeah.
around here actually comes out of the factory in quite a coarse manner.
Right.
There's little weld spits and there's burrs
Yeah.
on them, and they get a lot of roostering, as it's called, like kick up from other cars in front,
Oh, yeah,
chips
of
off the
course.
paint.
Yeah.
So actually preparing this and actually cutting through those apertures just there so that there's airflow
Yeah.
inside the car. It's small details like that make the car what it is.
Right.
Using the photographs to come up with the brackets that hold up the spotlights.
Yep.
Each of the pairs of the brackets, the lower pair and these upper pair, were custom made for this car. Nothing off the shelf. I started with cardboard.
Yeah.
And cut a little profile, and then folded one part around it so that it gave it that curve shape underneath the light. And always checking the photographs for reference material. And then I got a good steel worker to make them up and weld them, and then made up the metalwork bracket for the number plate.
So that number plate's very interesting, because looking at that car, I'd think that's a show plate, but it's not, is it? It's
No,
actually a
it
plate.
has to be. I did call our local police traffic department,
Right.
and I said, I'm thinking of building a car and taking the bumpers off it. And I talked to them for about 25 minutes, half an hour. And as they are in these conversations, they were wonderfully non-committal. And I said, get it done, mate, bring it down and we'll assess it from there. And if you can't use it on the road, we'll tell you. Everything had to be rounded, no sharp edges, and nothing projects beyond the crown of the grille.
Right. Okay.
So I couldn't have like any projections beyond what would have been like the standard bumper line.
Yeah.
And everything had to be like softened or rounded wherever there was a potential impact for a pedestrian,
yeah.
which is fair enough. I want to use it on the road, and I want it to be right. So there was a lot of research, and a lot of thought that went into each different aspect of the car.
So that number plate, though, RED91G, that is actually a proper bona fide registration number.
It's a bona fide. But I called the DVLA and I said, I'm doing this project, and I could hear her eyes rolling down the phone. and she, and the night, she was a wonderful lady. I wish I'd have got her name. And she said, tell me a bit about the car. So I'm looking for AMG 1. And she went, you'd never be able to afford that.
Yeah.
You'll never get that. So I want Spa 71. I want Benz. I want Pig or Red or something like that. And she said, I'm going to be here all day. What is it you're looking for? I said, well, the car was called the Red Pig. And she put in this thing. And she said, how about this? RED91G. I said, really? She said, it's a 1967 registration. Nobody's ever asked for it, and it's never been released on the market. Would you like it?
Oh, my word.
Yes. So that's how this came about.
Right. That's
so
incredible.
It was for me, that it was destiny.
Yeah.
It was the luckiest thing that happened on the car. For me, when it's being photographed or whenever it goes out now, that registration and its positioning, how it's done, are an integral part of this story of this car.
Yeah, indeed.
So I can't see it without that. And even though it comes off readily on 2 spring clips and it can be removed for that pure track look, I feel that this is the best way that this car should
It
look.
complements the car in a way
Well,
you couldn't
unless you're
do
a
it.
ginger-haired butcher, I don't know another car where it's going to fit.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, yeah.
For how thirsty the motor is,
Yeah.
because the original one did between 5 and 8 to the gallon, I'm lucky enough to double that.
Right.
So I get the dizzying heights of between 13 and 15 to the gallon
Hey, well done.
on this car. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, to have a car that looks like this,
Yeah.
sounds like this, goes like this, there's got to be something to pay somewhere down the line. And if it's a fuel consumption, if it was a choice between this and electric vehicle,
you'd have this every day, wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's no.
Well,
no choice.
you know, I heard it fired up earlier, and it's tremendous. And I think what we are going to do in one of the future episodes is actually take this car for a spin.
So here we are. I'm not going to tell you what it costs, but 3 times what I thought it was going to cost, and 2 years, 4 months down the line, we're at a stage where I'm happy with it. But once again, when you're working on these projects, you get invested.
Yeah.
You invest so much of yourself and your time and your money. And Nikki, she actually got her hands dirty. She sprayed the headlining from the tan colour that it was to the black that I wanted.
Right.
And the roll cage, I had it fitted by a proper outfitting underneath, and there were still a few weld spits on it here and there.
Right.
She sanded the weld spits off with emery paper. She sprayed the roll cage black.
It's incredible.
She helped me with the fitting. I fitted the carpet.
Yeah.
So she helped me with the fitting of the carpet as well. And all of this makes it more personal to me.
Yeah.
That there was that much that we put in between us.
It's tremendous.
I think if you asked her, this is her least favourite car of the 3 because it took a little bit more out of us than the other cars did, because it was more organic.
Yeah.
I was trying to force this one. I had a time frame that I wanted to hit. I failed miserably on hitting that time frame.
But I mean, you mentioned earlier it took you 2 years, 4 months.
Yeah.
I would have thought that from where this car was to where you got it might have taken you 5, 7, 10 years. But I mean, I saw it in March at the NEC, and I just thought it was outstanding then. But it was rattle canned. There was masking tape where the decals would go.
As people got wind that I was doing this thing, and it's held in high regard in the Mercedes-Benz world, the red piggies, because they're so rare. And when AMG decide to roll their tribute out of the garage, it is something of an event. So if you're doing something that looks close to it, and something can be traded off that. So I got a call, could we have your car on the Mercedes-Benz club stand? The practical restoration show at the NEC, they didn't give me a lot of time to get the car prepared, but they wanted it to look like the real deal.
Right.
So I had in mind all of the things that I was going to do for it, and the great leveler, my nice wife, told me what I was going to do and what should be left for the to make it look like it was an ongoing work in progress. I wanted to spray it red as far as I could. So I had to get down to Alfred's in a bit of a rush, and actually took this model with me, matched a can on the roof, and I swept up about 15 cans in my arms and came away from that and spent about 2 days flooding the car as best I could to give it that look. as it turns out at the show, an awful lot of people said, don't spray it.
Yeah.
I
think I was one of them.
You were, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks just right the way it is. It looks like an aged racer.
It did.
And
It did.
for the 95% of people that said that that's how it should go, I was starting to be swayed. I mean, it takes a lot to change my mind once it's made up.
Yeah.
But I was starting to teeter.
Yeah, it looked amazing because it looked as if it was the, that flat matte paint that's all
Yes.
the rage at the
Yeah.
moment, on cars.
Yeah.
It looked very much like that.
Yeah.
And I think what you'd done with the rattle cans was quite impressive, actually, because it was very even and it looked finished, to be brutally honest.
As it turns out, 15 rattle cans doesn't cover a car of
No.
that size very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I had to leave the broad surfaces, the bonnet and the roof and partially the boot, with the black. So I have done a bit of spray can work before. So I did manage to fade it out into the black. And I think it was that made it look more deliberate than anything else.
No, it looked
And
good.
I was happy with the way it turned out for the restoration show,
Yeah.
knowing that it was going to be a temporary thing. I thought that I'd done enough preparation on the car.
Right.
And it was still drivable at that point in time. We drove it to the NEC, we
Yeah.
drove it home while I was ongoing preparing the rest of the archwork.
Yeah.
I drove it up to my guy who was going to spray it, Rob Olivetti, Oreo in Oadby. So took it up to him. And the thing about Rob is he likes to chat and he can speak his mind as well, which I don't mind.
Yeah.
I like
He's
strong-minded
as straight
people.
as anything.
He is.
Absolutely wonderful guy.
And so when I took the car up, he didn't have any problem at all telling me how rubbish my attempts at bodywork were. But having said that, in the next breath, pointing me in the right direction. Really steep learning curve, quite frustrating.
Yeah.
When I thought that I got something to a standard and it evidently wasn't. And I got it to the point where it was ready to, I thought, go into their shop.
Right.
And then we'd be putting primer on it and then top coat and whatever else he wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got it in there first morning.
Yeah.
And I got it nestled between a Ferrari Dino and a 1978 Aston Martin Vantage. And, and it looked the part.
Yeah.
It really did. Nestled in between there. And I thought, I was born to be in this workshop to do this work.
So you actually did some of the work in there?
I was there for a full week. And I became part of the furniture, as it were.
Yeah, with Imran. I think Imran's the guy.
Imran, top. He actually did the spraying on the car.
Well, that shows.
Top bloke, really is. And it made it really easy for me to integrate. I became the T-boy, the lacquer, deliverer of cars, collector of cars. But when I did actually get to work on mine, I saw the process, and I realised how little I knew.
Yeah.
So I've got a much greater appreciation for the guys who do car bodywork all the time and the kind of standards that they have to work to.
Yeah.
It far exceeds
It's micromillimetric, isn't it?
It is.
It's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
And so I've got a lot of pride in that week that I did actually on how much I learned and where I got to, that they allowed me to do what they call the mopping, the cutting of like the paint coat before the final polishing all around the car. They led me through every curve, every panel. When I got in there the first morning and I started stripping off the chrome, the lights, the wheels, everything else, it looked like it was in a sorry state, and it looked like it was never, ever going to get done. I thought, a week to turn this around. I'm going to be here in a fortnight. But give them the due. They kept me busy. They kept busy with the lads themselves. And we got it done inside a week. Rob was very good to me, letting me do the work in his shop, a complete novice, but integrated well. And I'll go up there now and happily drop in for a cup of coffee, or if it's near the time, they'll have me make the coffee.
And this particular car, I mean, how does it drive? Because that's the thing everybody wants to know about. It looks like a racing car. Does it go like a racing car?
Okay. Right, in a nutshell, it's had 30 mil taken out of the standard road springs all round. It has got the Bilstein adjustable shocks, which are set quite hard. I do like to feel a car, even though it's got power steering. I run the tyre pressures quite high.
Mm-hmm.
I like to feel that
You get the
transmission
road-
through the steering
Yeah,
wheel.
you get a good feel for the steering, don't you? That way, yeah.
And we've got the wide tyres.
Yeah.
I've got 15 mil spacers on the front. I've got 25 mil spacers on the back.
Right.
And they are 275 wides on the back. On the original race car, they were about 340 mil wide, Pirelli Cinturatos. And I think the only other car that used them at that wide at that point in time was the Lamborghini Countach. So
there's some intent there, isn't there? Just in the words.
Yeah. But they're hellish expensive.
But you've got to really care about something to want to use it and drive it. And I think
that's right.
The key message that I'm taking, having spent this time with you today, Mark, is that you're not scared to use this car.
No.
You're not scared to show it to anybody.
No,
You enjoy talking about it, and you know,
show me a classic car guy who doesn't enjoy talking about his car.
That's very true.
So you can sit here till the cows come home and talk about that.
What I really love and enjoy about this, though, is that you are just like me, a regular working person, sharing your journey and your story about your passion, which is that.
That's right.
It's a wonderful backdrop to be sitting in front of.
One of the reasons I built this garage that we're sat in front of the way it is was so that I could alternately roll each one of these cars into this view.
Oh, yes.
And
which we are enjoying right now.
And sit here with a table just like this, maybe with a beer or two more than we're looking at.
Well, I don't drink, so there might be a glass of orange juice.
So yes, then enjoy your cars.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, Mark, we are in a village on the outskirts of Leicester.
Yes.
We're in a housing area. It's a residential area. It's not like a farmhouse somewhere or a big country mansion or anything like that, or anything purpose-built. And, to enjoy your journey and your story of this amazing car, it's an absolute privilege. Yeah. And I think on behalf of the T-Junction and these episodes that we're running at the moment, which are really about people's passion for cars, I just want to say a massive thank you for allowing us to come here, your hospitality.
You're welcome.
Your patience as well.
Well, you'll always be welcome back.
Thank you.
Hopefully, there'll be another project to show in the future. But because I know my wife is out walking the dog,
yes,
I can say this to you without fear of repercussion. And let's hope she doesn't see this.
Yeah, before you've spoken to her.
Okay.
Right? How much is it going to cost you?
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Mark.
No problem.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of People's Passion for Cars. We are the T-Junction. I'm Jats. Thank you for watching. If you've liked this episode, then please subscribe. Please let us know what you think in the comments below, and we will see you on the next one.